Science and art, typically regarded as separate domains of human creativity, have often been perceived as opposites, even though they originate from the same cultural context. This notion is exemplified by the traditional idea of the brain's two hemispheres, although it has been debunked as a myth. We still occasionally associate analytical individuals with the left brain and creative ones with the right. Interestingly, scholars in the late 19th century did not draw such a strict line between these two realms, leading to mutual influences between art and science. An intriguing illustration of this interplay can be found in the philosophy of evolutionary monism advocated by zoologist Ernst Haeckel, which left its mark on the Viennese secession art movement and its leader, Gustav Klimt. Ernst Haeckel, a 19th century German zoologist and a prominent proponent of Darwinism during his time, made significant contributions to the understanding of human evolution, heredity, and the coining of biological terms, including ecology, phylum, and phylogeny. While his scientific ideas weren't widely embraced by the contemporary scientific community, they gained popularity among the general public. In his books from the 1890s, Die Welträtsel, The Riddle of the Universe, and Kunstformen der Natur, Art Forms in Nature, Haeckel synthesized 4 decades of scientific exploration to present evolution as a comprehensive worldview capable of addressing metaphysical questions. In Die Welträtsel, he fully developed his concept of monism, a pantheistic belief system rooted in recent natural science discoveries. Haeckel's monism proposed a belief in a connected universe where spirit permeates matter, offering an alternative to traditional religious deities and giving rise to the term monistic religion. Haeckel's monism transformed Darwinism from a process of random selection and competition into a unified natural order, with humanity as a part of a universal continuum. Monism asserted the unity of matter and spirit governed by unchanging mechanical laws. Darwin's theory of evolution allowed Haeckel to trace a web of relationships across organisms, from the primitive Monera to plants and animals. Haeckel's books, along with Wilhelm Bolsch's work Liebesleben in der Natur, Love Life in Nature, published in 1898, reshaped perspectives and extended the reach of monism. Evolutionary monism, blending body and soul, infused the world with spiritual and sexual vitality. Haeckel's perspective incorporated the notion of sentient matter, based on the theoretical existence of a cell soul. He defined God as the sum of natural forces, bridging science and theology, mind and body, emotion and reason. In his worldview, nature transcended soulless materialism. The idea of the interconnectedness of mind and body fascinated a new generation of symbolist and Jugendstil artists. Austria, with its rich cultural tradition blurring the boundaries between physical and metaphysical flesh and spirit, provided fertile ground for monism's influence. In Vienna, a rising generation of artists, driven by instinct, emotion, and mysticism, found inspiration in contemporary science. Leading the charge were the artists of the Vienna Secession, pioneers in producing works shaped by Darwinism. Ernst Haeckel maintained both personal and professional connections with Austria. In 1870, he received an offer to join the University of Vienna, which marked the beginning of his association with the city. He corresponded with a group of Darwinists in Vienna and, in 1878, delivered 2 lectures in the city that propelled his popularity in Austria. His lectures inspired prominent figures in scientific circles in Vienna to endorse a monist perspective. In Austrian artistic circles, monism first gained traction through the writings of Leopold von Sacher-Masoch and the Jungian, Young Vienna group. By the close of the 19th century, this philosophy extended its influence to the visual arts, notably within the Vienna Secession, founded in 1897. The secession's journal, Versacrum, featured an abundance of nature-themed imagery, including prehistoric fantasy depictions of dinosaurs by Rudolf Bacher and monist-inspired poems by Rainer Maria Rilke. Gustav Klimt, like other artists of the era, drew inspiration from their communion with nature, developed stylistic techniques echoing evolutionary characteristics, and explored themes of monist unity, animal instincts, and procreation. Through Gustav Klimt, Darwinism became a focal point of artistic discourse, particularly with the exhibition of his mural Philosophie, originally intended for the Great Hall of the University of Vienna. philosophy was described in the 7th secessionist exhibition catalogue as representing Genesis, reproduction, decay on the left, the globe of the world, the riddle of the universe on the right, and the illuminated figure of knowledge rising from below. Critics immediately connected the painting to the emerging worldview of Darwinism, monism, and theosophy. For many in Germany and Austria, the lines between monism and theosophy were blurred, especially since the theosophist Rudolf Steiner had defended Haeckel in an essay. References to Darwin and Haeckel in the narrative conveyed mortality and suffering offset by species survival, symbolized by an isolated floating baby. The depicted cosmos, filled with pulsating lights, shooting stars, and merging forms, echoed Haeckel's descriptions of vibrating ether atoms, rotating nebulous, and the presence of unifying energy. In Klimt's philosophy, the mysteries of the world could no longer be unraveled without considering the realities of evolution. In 1907, Gustav Klimt employed the same cosmological perspective in his second painting for the University of Vienna. This work prominently featured the goddess Hygeia, herself a product of evolutionary transformation, born from a swamp in the form of a snake. Themes from Charles Darwin and Ernst Haeckel manifested in the figures of a primeval couple, with the male covered in fur. Other elements of evolutionary monism were embodied by a pair of wrestlers engaged in an evolutionary struggle for survival, and the cyclical motifs of death and procreation. Klimt's depiction of medicine reflected an awareness of embryonic illustrations found in Haeckel's books and his biogenetic law. Additionally, Klimt's maternal images recalled passages from Haeckel's Die Weltratssel, where Haeckel asserted that human nature in the grand scheme equates to that of a placental mammal, with limited significance on the universal scale. Humanity, he argued, is but a transient phase in the ongoing evolution of an eternal substance, a perspective that becomes evident when viewed against the backdrop of infinite space and eternal time. The influence of Ernst Haeckel's ideas on Gustav Klimt's works becomes particularly evident in Klimt's underwater paintings, such as Water Serpents 2. Within these mythological and erotically charged aquatic scenes, one can discern echoes of Bolsch's descriptions of the ocean as a primordial erogenous zone, brimming with desire that propels evolution and ripples through the universe. In Das Liebesleben in der Natur, Bolsche writes about the water teeming with infinite life, with coral-covered trees, polyps' orange-yellow mouths, darting fish, and the enchanting Medusa, all connected in a vast chain of life and love. Klimt's painting, Water Serpents 1, Friends, thematically recapitulates evolution, tracing it from cells to plants, fish, reptiles, and the emergence of a woman. These hybrid forms and collage-like fragments are artistically reassembled into a monistic whole. The palette and sinuous contours of this piece mirror the curvilinear forms and vibrant hues found in Ernst Haeckel's illustrations in Kunstformen der Natur. This approach exemplifies Bolsch's ornamental principle, emphasizing that beauty evolves through sexual selection, and it highlights the morphological connections throughout the universe, referred to as a world arabesque. Bolsche elaborated on these concepts in his illustrated article, The Line of Beauty in Nature, published in Wiener Mode, a fashion magazine that Klimt was acquainted with. Even some of Gustav Klimt's most renowned works bear the imprint of Ernst Haeckel's evolutionary monism. The Kiss, painted in 1908 and swiftly acquired by the Ministry of Education for the Österreichische Galerie Belvedere after its initial exhibition, is a prime example. Beyond its typical art historical interpretations, the Kiss is rarely considered in the broader context of Viennese culture and its Darwinist elements. Klimt expresses monist unity in the Kiss through his decorative patterns, which draw inspiration from the shared biological and microscopic forms of cells and tissues. The painting exemplifies the spirit generated by Eros and represents the concept of sexual cell love that Ernst Haeckel considered the wellspring of life and the human soul. These figures in the Kiss, positioned at the intersection of Earth and cosmos, bear witness to a monist universe reminiscent of Haeckel's star world and cell world, where procreation was believed to regulate one's position in the solar system and the fate of one's spermatozoa.